Good morning, Dr. Amadi.
Good morning.
Well, I'm sure you've been listening to the conversation at this end. But first of all, let me ask you, you've heard a lot consumers complaining that they are not getting value for their money. And yet, we're having an increase in tariff. What is the rationale behind this at this point in time?
Thank you very much. I think first is to say there is no increase. This is not, people portray it as if the regulator and operators decided to increase tariff. What happened, like the consultant said, is that in 2012, we published tariffs for every year until 2016. And each year has a tariff that is projected for that year. Now, every 6 months, we re-index. This is not increase. It's indexed to inflation, foreign exchange, changes in gas, and change in quantity generated. So every 6 months, we review and say, where are these inflators trending? The good news is that after our review, we made about 15% gain for the consumer. Inflation was low than projected. We projected inflation of 13%. We had 7.8. Exchange value, rate of exchange, naira to dollar, was projected for 178 naira to a dollar. And we ended up with about 157 naira to a dollar. So ultimately, that's why the fixed charge came down. But the only problem was gas. We had projected 9,061 megawatts for by June, but we ended up with less than 4,000 megawatts. So about 55% negative. And that's why we did not reduce or keep the energy charge for only one customer class, R2. So what changed was that customer class R2, that's residential consumers, had about 1 naira for something kobo on the average as the additional increase. But on fixed charge, people in Benin, for example, had 50% reduction from 1,500 naira to 750 naira. In Yola, 1,250 naira to 750 naira. So this is a story. Because of good macroeconomic management, we reduced fixed charge and gave the efficiency gain to consumers. Bear in mind that the fixed charge is the main problem because it disincentives efficiency. Whether they supply or not, they collect fixed charge. So we wisely reduce fixed charge and just slightly increase energy charge for only R2 customers. In Ikeja, there is no increase, there is reduction for fixed charge and no increase for energy charge. So why are we doing this? We must show credibility to attract investment. If our rates, people argue as if the power is something you produce and store and then you sell. No, power is the only product that you must have paid for it, set a price before it is produced. So the investors came to this market with a price in mind, with a power purchase agreement, with assurance of gas. So I sympathize with the consumers. I would like us to freeze price and then suddenly get to 10,000 megawatts and then we start paying. But it's not doable. It's the same pricing that we create a product, that will create reliability, provide meter. The meter components, finance for meter, are all in the tariff. So what will NEC give us? NEC is now pushing the discos to do more for less. We are also hoping that gas comes to the pipeline. We grow our capacity to about 6,000, 7,000, and we'll see very gradual, consistent decline in pricing. So my answer to the entrepreneur who said, do we expect decrease? The answer is yes. We've seen what happened with fixed charge. As long as we make efficiency gains, we pass it to consumers. We expect that as we grow our capacity in generation, the average cost of power will be less, and then we'll begin to see a stability in pricing. It is not true that NEC changes price. We can't increase the tariff. We only increase tariff if there is a minor review or major review, and those are set in law to give stability to the investment. I believe that sooner or later, we'll be able to have more capacity, more reliability, and then we will unbundle distribution and retail. And then retailers will be keen to compete to do better service for the consumer. That's just the story about it. So this is not a tariff increase. Actually, it's a reduction in fixed charge in order to take advantage of the better macroeconomic environment. The only sad news, though, is that gas failed us. And because gas failed us, we saw a slight increase for R2 customers because the average cost went high slightly.
All right. You have explained for consumers perhaps at the Ikeja area. This entrepreneur here stays in Lekki Phase 1, he says. And of course, he talked about the issue of metering, and he talked about how much he's paying now compared to what he used to pay, even though he has the new meter, the card meter. So what do you have to say about that?
Well, I'll say two things. One, for a consumer in Eko, fixed charge will not increase, but there will be a slight increase in energy charge. But again, people forget that when power improves, the quantum of bill, that's the volumetric impact, will be much. You know, you have 2 hours power or 3 hours power, you are spending maybe 2,000 a month or 5,000 a month. If you have 10 hours power per day, then your bill will triple. So I think Nigerians should get used to the fact that as power improves, even without changing the rates, there will be a volumetric impact. That means the total gross money you pay, bill, will be higher. So two things to do is check whether the Eko Disco is charging you the published rate. And I believe Eko will not overcharge, because if they charge more than prescribed, NEC will sanction them financially, and of course they'll be prosecuted because the tariff is a law, and EFCC will prosecute them for criminal behavior. So first, check you are charging the right thing. And secondly, think about the fact that power has improved in your locality, and therefore your bill will increase. But beyond that, the other thing I'll say about meter is a critical issue here. In 2012, we mandated a 18 months metering plan. That means we expected every consumer to be metered in 18 months. After 6 months, we reviewed and discovered that metering was very slow. What's the reason? The federal government negotiated almost 100% increase in wages for workers, about 50% increase for workers and casuals. And the discourse said that inflated their personnel costs. For example, Abuja used to pay 400 million as salaries. They now pay 800 million as salary. And they came to us and say, the money that's come from tariff for metering is no longer available. And then we brought the cap-me rule. The cap-me says consumers who can afford to pre-finance metering can pay money and recover through reduction in fixed charge over a period of time. And that plan is still on. So I would say, let consumers in the interim sign up for cap-me. We have also asked the discos, the new discos, to give us the metering plan, which they have given to us. So our belief is that as more power come, the discos are going to start rolling out their metering plan. And hopefully, by the grace of God, they'll be able to meter most of their customers before 18 months, so that there'll be no issue of estimation. Additionally, we have also set up a methodology for estimation for those consumers who may not get meter between now and the next few months, so that they'll be estimated according to a scientific formula that allows the disco to look at the power going to a cluster and use metered consumers to rightly estimate unmetered. What we have seen in the past, nobody has adhered to that methodology. And now the regulator is rolling out sanction for failure to follow the methodology. Let me end by saying that even in the US, they don't have prepaid meter. Most companies in Massachusetts in the US, they don't have prepaid, they use postpaid. But the integrity of the process means that the discos should not just sit in their office and estimate. They should go to the houses and read those meters, and when there is a problem in a month, the next month they should rectify it. That's the rule. The rule says, if you carry the meter this month, in 3 months, read it. And if you discover discrepancy between your estimation and the actual reading of that meter, you go back and normalize the consumer. And that's why we've set up forum offices across the disco areas to arbitrate complaints from consumers who feel that they have been overcharged. I want to appeal to Nigerians to exercise patience that the framework for ensuring equity and balance in this market is well set. All we need to do now is to start weighing the big stick. And thankfully, we have established the regulatory framework for that. We can now find the discos, and the discos will be incentivized to deliver quality service. That's what I think will happen in the future.
Dr. Madi, before I talk to the people I have here, do you have a strong mechanism to ensure that these investors, are actually not exploiting the consumers?
I think the answer is yes, but.
Why the but?
One, we have the but, yeah, we have the rules. We've just recently enacted what we call enforcement regulation. And what that does is to empower us to stipulate financial fine. The biggest incentive for a disco to do the right thing is financial sanction, because it hits the bottom line. We are going to be levying the discos. We are going to be fining them for infraction. And we want them also, we don't have the capacity to monitor every home in Nigeria. Consumers have to be part of this partnership. They have to be bold enough to write to us to complain. The process is simple. Every disco has a consumer complaint unit. They should first complain there. If in a week you do not have answer, go to our forum office. For Ikeja, the forum office is in 119 above my way, Alausa. For Eko, 2425 Marina Road, Eko, Lagos. You complain there. We have in that forum members of the community, representative of the NASIMA, the MAN, set of engineers, council, Consumer Protection Council, and an NGO in that district. They sit as independent tribunal to look at the matter and levy sanction. NEC will enforce that sanction. The but here is this. The but here is there are certain rules that we don't need to enforce, that the discos themselves should do as a matter of course. But because we are still going through a change management, the disco staff themselves are even conniving or being derelict of their duty or even inefficient. So it takes some time for the various discos to fully implement their change management strategy. So apart from enforcement, apart from NEC carrying the iron and hitting everybody's head, there are certain internalized regulatory framework that every disco should implement. And that is the but. It's taking time to change the behavior of old workers of PSN whose attitude has always been either to abandon their job or not to invest in customer care. So we are going with what we call extreme consumer engagement. We want the discos to see their consumers not as consumers but as customers and be able at all times to add value, answer questions, go extreme to assist them, to engage them. And over time, people will look away from the shortage and the scarcity in the market and then hope that when supply improves, we'll get improved service. So we are focusing on change management. It's taking time, but we're getting results. We want to move them from seeing consumers as just consumers to seeing consumers as customers who have a stake and our commitment is to provide them quality service.
Dr. Amadi, just hold your breath there. We'll take a short break, and when we return, we'll get to listen to the two gentlemen here react to the few things you have said. So you just hang on there. So we'll take a short break, and when we return, we'll continue with that conversation.